This is the last Neo-Freudian that we're going to be studying, Erik Erikson. But just because he's last does not mean that he isn't important. Erik Erikson's thoughts, I feel as though, are very important. If I had a partial uh, thought towards one of the theorists, Erikson would be high on the list. He wouldn't be the only one, but he would definitely be high on the list. The main focus of Erik Erikson is identity and individuals wanting to develop an identity. Now, this identity may be one of belonging, it may be one of shunning, moving away from people, not needing people, thinking that people are hostile. It could be shown in an aggressive manner. Going back to Freud, sex and aggression, sex equated to life. It could be shown in that type of way. Individuals develop an identity. This is the focus that I want to bring across now. Each and every one of us, I would say that beyond a doubt, we have some area in our life that is focused on just our life and particularly to our life. It might be a hairstyle, not really an identity as far as I'm concerned, but it could be a hairstyle. It could be the way you wear clothing. A few years ago, there was a young lady going to high school who had many friends, I think 3 or 4 close girlfriends. And it was kind of interesting because every morning they would walk past my house. They were all dressed identical, developing an identity. And I believe that we see this in high school, and it is particularly true. An automobile could be an identity. A mannerism, speaking could be an identity. So we focus in, develop an identity, and then when we don't develop this identity, then maybe, be careful here because I'm just throwing out some terms, maybe some type of neurotic behavior could set in. Okay, the main focus of Erik Erikson was identity, and this was due to the fact he never did know who his father was, but he was a tall, blonde individual with a Jewish name, and of course the kids teased him in school because it didn't fit a tall, blonde individual with a Jewish name. He developed this identity. He had 8 stages that individuals go through in the development of this identity. The 8 stages refers to the 8 periods of life that a person goes through from trust versus mistrust until we get to the last stage, which is the 8th stage. And of course, that is the passing away stage. Now, Freud focused on psychosexual stages. Are you with me on that? I hope I said it slowly enough. Freud focused on psychosexual stages. Erik Erikson focused on psychosocial stages. I want to make this emphasis and this distinction between these two. Erikson, psychosocial. Freud, psychosexual. Now, Erik Erikson did not have a degree. Matter of fact, he was working as a painter. He met Anna Freud. Anna Freud kind of was a mentor to him. Matter of fact, when Erik Erikson found the girl or woman that he wanted to marry, he asked for Anna Freud's permission to marry her. And of course, she gave him that permission. Did not have the university degree. It developed the concept of 8 stages that we pass through related to age. And the important stage in here, as far as developing identity is concerned, is the adolescent stage. And this stage here is called identity versus role confusion. And according to Erikson, we pass through various conflicts in each of these stages. So identity versus role confusion. Who am I? I am an adolescent. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I belong. So part of the upheaval in adolescence life, not that it always occurs, but it can and does occur, is the development of an identity. We go through life developing identity. You get a college education. You attend college. You get a college education. You go out. You find a job. This job is part of your identity. Now, what happens when a person has been working at this particular place of employment for 15 or 20 years? Now, all of a sudden, the boss comes in and says, thanks for your service. If they even go that far, you are no longer needed in this place, in this organization, and so they are fired. Okay. Then this identity that a person has developed for working 15 or 20 years at a certain place is lost. And so they have to search for a new identity. And this happens in our life. If we have a loss of someone or something, or we have gained someone or something in our life, it changes our position of identity. According to Freud, the ego and the id, a little bit different. You know, the ego kind of satisfies the id, and the id can overwhelm the ego. Along with Erikson, he stated that the ego is very weak, but it can be strengthened over a lifetime of period, and that's what we're working well. According to Freud, I believe that the ego can be strengthened also. We have three roles that we really play in life that can make a difference, and that's the body ego, which is the physical aspect, the physical ego. The ego ideal, let's compare ourselves to the ego ideal, comparing ourselves to that maybe that is not but what we perceive as perfection. And so this perfect object, whatever it may be, we compare it to self to kind of measure how far we've come. And then ego identity is our role in various situations. Now, the epigenetic principle is the role of the ego during various stages of life. And the ego does play a role. The ego is kind of our makeup. And then if we go to Carl Jung, he talks about self. And visiting with Fromm, or going back and reviewing Fromm, he wanted to have the individual, or the individuals wanted to escape from freedom, developing a different ego. Okay, this concludes then our study on the Neo-Freudians. Our next study will be on the second force. Remember, this is the first force, starting with Freud, and then the Neo-Freudians. This ends the Neo-Freudians. We will be starting on behaviorism, which is the second force. Remember that we did a lot with the id, the ego, and the superego, and in these sections here. Neuroticism, we did some with neuroticism. Karen Horn and I talked about neuroticism. As far as the conscious and unconscious is concerned, we visited about that with Carl Jung. And of course, with Adler, he wanted us to strive, or he said that the individual is focused on striving to become superior. So I want you to remember these concepts before we go into behaviorism, because there will be a marked contrast in what we have been studying, and then when we go into behaviorism and what we will be studying there. This is the first force. So until the second force with Ivan Pavlov, you have a good day.